At 3:00 a.m., deep inside Western Russia, silence shattered as 17 Ukrainian FPV drones, each built from scavenged parts, $89 autopilots, and plastic shells, descended toward one of Russia's largest strategic fuel depots. For 6 hours, these drones had flown undetected through 750 kilometers of enemy airspace, defying jamming, radar sweeps, and every layer of Russia's multi-million-dollar air defense network. What protected this depot was a fortress of S-400s, Pantsir batteries, and GPS denial systems worth more than the entire cost of Ukraine's drone program. Yet none of it mattered. As the swarm moved into formation, every Russian radar operator realized too late that the threat they dismissed as cheap toys was closing in with deadly precision. What followed was not just a strike hit, was a catastrophic collapse of Russia's fuel infrastructure worth over $2.5 billion, and a terrifying demonstration that modern warfare now belongs to machines built in garages, not factories. For hours, the drones had followed a flight path designed by AI, threading through radio dead zones, radar blind spots, and atmospheric layers known to distort Russian sensors. No GPS, no live feed, no operator control. For the final 30 minutes, the drones flew completely autonomously, each one using neural models trained on satellite images of the depot, pipeline maps, and thermal signature patterns. The onboard processors interpreted the terrain in real time, adjusting altitude by centimeters, avoiding collision with each other, and ensuring the formation held perfectly. As they approached within 20 kilometers of the depot, Russian S-400 radars searched the sky desperately. But the drones flew below 50 meters, where Earth's curvature and thermal clutter made them almost invisible. The system that could track ballistic missiles in space could not detect plastic drones flying at the speed of a pigeon. Inside the base command room, operators watched their screens flicker with false return spurts, heat pockets, dust plumes. But buried inside the noise were 17 real threats. When the first drone finally appeared on a Pantsir console at 8 kilometers, the operator hesitated. Too slow for a missile, too fast for a bird, too low for any known aircraft. But when he zoomed in, he saw it clearly. 4 rotors, a glowing core, a small body, a nightmare. He immediately fired a 5.7E6 missile worth nearly $1 million rubles. The missile streaked at Mach 2.8 toward the drone, but lost lock at the final moment. The drone's radar cross-section was too tiny, its plastic frame too transparent. The proximity fuse failed to register it. The missile flew past harmlessly. Then another missile failed, and another. Millions of dollars evaporated in seconds as the FPV swarm advanced completely unfazed. Panic spread across the entire base as 4 Pantsir batteries opened fire simultaneously, filling the night sky with tracers and missile exhaust. But the FPVs were too small, too low, and constantly shifting position. Some climbed 20 meters, then instantly dived a maneuver pre-programmed to confuse intercept algorithms. Others skimmed the ground so closely that gun crews risked hitting their own fuel tanks if they fired too low. TORM-2 units activated but couldn't maintain weapon-grade locks. Targets kept disappearing into radar dead zones. For every second that passed, defensive fire grew weaker. Missiles were spent, cannons overheated. Russian crews watched in disbelief as 16 drones, still perfectly synchronized, continued straight toward the depot like a silent, unstoppable engine of destruction. At precisely 3 hours, 8 minutes, and 17 seconds, the lead drone struck Tank 4's roof. Its shape-charge warhead punched through 8 millimeters of steel-like paper, detonating inside the vapor pocket above 2,000 tons of fuel. The explosion wasn't a fire, was a detonation. A shockwave raced through the tank at 2,800 meters per second. The steel roof, weighing over 15 tons, launched into the air like a discus and flew more than 200 meters before crashing into the ground. Burning fuel erupted from the ruptured shell, flooding the containment berm and igniting the entire ground surface. In seconds, flames soared hundreds of meters high. Russian defenders froze. Their worst nightmare had just begun. 16 remaining drones continued their attack with machine-like precision. The next FPV slammed into Tank 1, then Tank 7, then Tank 12. Each strike was timed to maximize cascading failure-igniting connecting pipes, rupturing pressure valves, and pushing flames along the fuel distribution grid. Designers in the 1960s never imagined a scenario where multiple tanks would be attacked within seconds. Fire suppression systems kicked in, spraying foam at 10,000 liters per minute, but the concentration was expired, pipes clogged, and heat levels far beyond system limits. It was like trying to extinguish a volcano with a garden hose. Within minutes, the entire depot transformed into a rolling inferno. At 3:18, the most catastrophic event occurred. Tank 6 overheated, ruptured, and superpressurized suffered a BLVE, a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. The entire tank detonated like a massive bomb, sending a fireball the size of a city block into the sky. Shockwaves shattered windows in towns kilometers away. This wasn't ordinary fuel. This was strategic aviation fuel for Tu-95Ms and Tu-160 bombers, the backbone of Russia's nuclear strike fleet. Special additives made it irreplaceable. In a single blast, Russia lost fuel reserves that could not be replenished for months. By sunrise, the depot was gone. A $2.5 billion facility reduced to twisted steel, boiling pipelines, collapsed tanks, and unrecognizable debris for Russia's military command. The consequences were immediate and devastating. Bomber regiments grounded, supply chains broken, fuel distribution networks crippled, and regional military operations paralyzed. Fire crews could not approach within 500 meters. Rail lines melted. Underground piping ruptured. Reservoirs feeding the blaze continued burning for hours. What began as an experimental Ukrainian drone mission had become one of the most destructive strikes of the entire war. On Russian social media, panic erupted. Footage leaked showing the inferno lighting up the night sky, visible from over 50 kilometers away. Civilians questioned how garage drones could bypass systems worth hundreds of millions. Air defense officers faced public scrutiny. Russian analysts reluctantly admitted what their generals refused to say. The era of big, expensive military hardware dominating the battlefield was over. Cheap, autonomous drones had flipped the balance of power, and no amount of propaganda could hide it. This strike was more than a military success, was a turning point in modern warfare. For the cost of one Moscow apartment, Ukraine neutralized strategic assets worth billions, shattered Russia's confidence in its air defenses, and proved once again that innovation beats intimidation. If you want deeper frontline reports, real drone analysis, and evidence-based breakdowns of Ukraine's warfighting evolution, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and support our work as we continue bringing you verified updates from the battlefield. Your engagement helps expose the truth behind every strike, every operation, and every moment shaping this war.